right. Good morning, Indy Nation. Been a couple weeks. Been busy couple weeks, honestly. Got some things to talk about. Going no glasses, no contacts. Bold choice this morning. Also got a Reptar mug going on, so the vibes aren't fully in shambles, we'll say. Got some things to talk about here because we've had a newsy couple of weeks. Where to begin? Let's start with the easy one. Brett Jody's managing in Southern Maryland now, so how about that? Sorry if I broke that one, Lincoln. But they were taking their time on that one. Brett, a couple things I guess we can talk about here because Brett Jody is a manager of note who has had success in the past in the Atlantic League, so that's a good get for Southern Maryland. But let's not. I feel like maybe people are a little fast to just move aside Stan Clyburn here. He is top 5 in Atlantic League history in wins, if I recall here. So, he ain't nobody. And Southern Maryland was a good competitive ball club this past year. So, he had a good bounce back year he oversaw and had a year. And now he's gone. But it seems to be his choice. So the question would then be, where's Stan going? My theory for a while has been Chicago. Potentially with his brother over with the Dogs. We'll see. I don't have a lot to say on this right now. Brett Jody really struggled in Lincoln. Not sure if he just didn't adjust to the American Association lifestyle and the roster restrictions that come along or the restrictions that come with potentially being with the Lincoln Salt Dogs. And that brings us to another point. Lincoln got to find a manager, and it is mid-December. So I'm not overly confident in how that's going to go for that ball club. There are some options out there. The Billies, Billy Horton. Weirdly similar names on those two. That's an obvious fact, but still worth mentioning. They're both in the market for manager gigs. There's some others out there. But I'm not sure how many people are super interested in the Lincoln job. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. Moving along, let's see what other quick topics we have here. We're keeping it casual in these coffee talks. Pioneer Leagues. Oh, the Pioneer League. Okay. So those of you who follow me on socials, which you should, Indy Ball Nation on whatever it is, it might note a fun source. You'll note also that I tweeted out the Brett Jody move and then promptly Lincoln posted it. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes this happens, which is I go, hey, Long Beach is no longer on the Pioneer League website. So maybe they're not in the league this year, which would make a little bit of sense because they don't have an even number of teams. And we've heard about a travel team coming up, but maybe they vetoed that because it's expensive to run a travel team. And then, 2 hours later, the Pioneer League put out their schedule with Long Beach included and a travel team. I am not saying those two things are connected. That would be weird, obviously. But it is also a little bit weird if it's not connected. So, fun. Sometimes you get a rumor, you pick up on something online, and you got to move it to some sources, and they can't give you anything. So you just got to kind of go, hey, I noticed a thing, and see if the news fleshes itself out. And it did in this case. So, hey, I have not gotten a chance to do a deep dive on the Pioneer League schedule, if I'm honest about it. Seeing how many times teams are playing each other and all of that. I do believe they're doing a 2-division model for this league this year. I had what that is. Do I have it on my phone? I'm recording on my phone. I'm looking for it so I can check something on it, and I'm recording on it. So I guess I'm not checking that right now. But I felt like the online version of the site had it with a division split. Maybe they're not going that route. I don't know. TBD. But chat, is the Pioneer League cooked? Because what is going on out there? Long Beach, I guess they have a deal for a stadium. I figure. I have no details other than some coaches, I guess is what they got going on. If you go to Modesto's site, it's still nothing, really. A travel team in the Pioneer League? Oh, okay. Presumably they're doing, hopefully, I don't know. Let's look it up. Let's look at the schedule right now. What is this travel team up to? It says you can follow the link to the 2016 or 2026 schedule, and we're going to do it right here because that's good quality audio content. They're starting in Modesto, the PBL travel team as they are known. Oh, I clicked the link. Where's it go? It goes to their schedule. All right, let's check it out. Then they go to Yuba, then Oakland, Long Beach, Yuba. Okay, already. What are we doing? This is not how you're supposed to do this, guys. Okay. Here's what I'm saying. They do a California stretch. And what reasonably you should do, because already the Pioneer League schedule is unbalanced and it's a disaster, is you should just do like a month and a half in California and then whatever, a month and a half in Montana and a month and a half anywhere else. That's the best way to do this economically and logistically efficiently. Instead, we're in California for reasonably a good amount of time here. It looks like we are in there from May 19th through June 14th. And then they go Ogden, Idaho Falls. 3-game series, by the way. No, the travel team can't be playing 3-game series. What are we doing, guys? And then Glacier, and then Missoula, then Billings, then Great Falls. So they do camp out in Montana for a little bit. But then late July, they end up back in Modesto and do California again for like 2 weeks. And then back to Idaho for 2 weeks, and then Montana. I mean, I guess they kind of do California out. So I guess it kind of makes sense. The execution doesn't seem to be there on this. I don't know, man. The Pioneer League looked very promising about 3 years ago, and now deeply concerned for the future of the Pioneer League. If I am a profitable and functioning organization in that league, I am looking for any and all options to get to a different league, because goodness me, this has been a mess. Moving along from that, though, because that was very negative. Let's talk about, got a couple more things I can choose from. Ooh, a former Pioneer League market. How about it? Because we got rumors, and it's not even something I discovered. Who is this guy? Dan Krieger. Sorry if I'm not getting that right. He's published previously under Arena Football 1, which is Dan, sicko, love you. Okay. My guy is apparently an Arena Football dog. And he's also doing Indy ball coverage. Dan, my guy. All right. This is what the article says. It's not the full article, but this is at least the blurb that's relevant to what we're talking about here. I should link this probably down in the description. I probably will, if I remember to. American Association, an ownership group with ties to the Independent American Association, is exploring various sites in Colorado Springs, Colorado, for construction of a new baseball stadium that could become home to a future American Association team. The Colorado Springs market became vacant. We all actually know the backstory on that one. Okay. Interesting. A couple things. It's interesting to see that they're trying to build a new stadium, because that's a financial undertaking that if it's not necessary, you're kind of like, maybe don't do that. Secondly, American Association expanding that old footprint out west. Also interesting. Now, there's a couple of markets out there if you want to do this. I've always talked about Tucson being an interesting market. Windsor is building a baseball stadium if you're interested in doing that. Been over that. But yeah, Colorado Springs does seem like a market that could play. A couple good markets in Montana if we're following up on the conversation about Pioneer League teams that might want to bail. So it's something to consider. Not entirely surprising. When it comes to who is doing this, Sean Hunter, Chicago Dogs owner, famously fun to work for Sean Hunter. He is a Colorado guy. If I recall, at least very recently he was living there. He might still be, or at least have some sort of residence in Colorado. So that's an option for sure. There's others, though, I'm sure that could possibly be involved. But Sean does seem like the kind of guy who would do that and throw some money at it. So that's something to keep an eye on. That American Association expansion talk is always very interesting because they're kind of all over the board. The Atlantic League is always looking to go south. The Pioneer League is constantly looking to go to California. The Frontier League is kind of going southeast right now, it seems. Well, I guess southeast, just south in general, because I act like Mississippi is southeast. Just because you have an SEC school doesn't mean you're southeast, I guess. But so it's interesting because the American Association, they're always rumored to be around Tennessee, Murfreesboro, things like that. Rumored to be in Texas. Rumored to be in Blair, Minnesota. Now talking about Colorado Springs, Colorado. I don't hate it. None of these are by nature a bad decision. Colorado Springs is a stretch off the old footprint, but you figure there'd be some sort of connecting point there. I'm not sure they can do all four. They seem most in on Blair, Minnesota. That seems to be happening. And maybe this is a push to find a new a pairing for expansion there, but that's interesting. I'm not entirely certain. I think I should say this. The American Association seems to do things fairly responsibly at this point, very thought out, not over-expanding, literally. So I expect them not to outkick their coverage and to do this thoughtfully, but it's something to watch if you're interested in the Indy ball expansion conversation, because they're doing it in a different way than the rest of these leagues seem to be. So keep an eye on that one. Last topic. No, I got two more, actually. First things first, Prospector Baseball Group, the private equity group that bought Lancaster as their first team, has expanded operations, buying up Akron and Jacksonville in minor league ranks. Keep an eye on that. A lot of people are talking about, does this mean Lancaster's going to go minor league? I don't think so. I really, really don't think so. I think there's a very limited amount of shuffling that would make sense to put them in minor league affiliated baseball. I think it's far more likely that you might see teams like Jacksonville and Akron. I think it's more likely Jacksonville and Akron are Indy ball in the next 5 years than Lancaster is affiliated the next 5 years. Will suffice to say that. I think there's more cuts coming to the minor league baseball affiliation group, and I think that we have people scouting out who are the profitable teams in Indy ball and who are the potential profitable teams in Indy ball in the future. That'd be my guess. I don't know, though. I'm dumb. I think private equity is even dumber. So who knows? Good luck there, everybody. It's happening. Last, we had a fun day for roster sickos in the Frontier League because it was contract extension day. And boy, does that get the people going. Frontier League roster extensions or contract extensions, building the roster for the next year. Let's get gross. So it can be hard to track exactly what's going on with who is on what roster in the Frontier League at this time of year, because some people don't get extended because I guess they couldn't get extended, or they've already signed a contract previously to play next year. So whatever. So this is at least the stuff that jumped out to me, with the acknowledgement that some of these guys might already have deals, or there's not a reason they've been extended, but I'm just pointing out the fact that I don't see them. There are notable guys who I don't see back on the Frontier League roster this year, and we'll go from there, okay? We're going to start on the mound because there's more of these guys. Starting with Troarvier, Jason Terrian, who pitched through 111 innings for Troarvier last year. Don't see him locked up yet. Guy like Dylan Spain and Jack Eisenbarger, as well as Anthony. I think Anthony Escobar actually has a deal already. But Jack Eisenbarger and Dylan Spain are two guys with sub 2.5 ERAs for Lake Erie. Of course, they're in a pitcher-friendly environment, but those are two key parts of that pitching staff there. Spain mostly started last year. Eisenbarger was a frequent part of that starting rotation. So, yeah, both of them not being locked up yet is interesting. Go north of the border here, Quebec, Kawagashi, Boys, Masatoshi Sakurai. I think I nailed that time. I'm 50-50 when it comes to them. And then Greg Duncan. Four solid pitchers of varying roles are not locked in yet by Quebec, but especially Kawagashi and Boys. Boys? Nobody's ever corrected me on that, so I'm going to roll with it. And I feel like that's how they said on the broadcast. Are both sub 2 ERA guys out of the bullpen. So that's going to be... So when it comes to Sakurai and Kawagashi, I'd expect if they come back a later re-sign from them, just, come international. But when it comes to Greg Duncan, he's been really interesting. A great come up from him. It's been really nice to watch him succeed with Quebec. I would be surprised if any of these guys don't come back, but it's also interesting. They are not locked in yet, apparently. Aaron Glickstein with Schaumburg. He had 34 relief appearances last year and a sub 3 ERA out of that bullpen. He is not yet signed by the Boomers, it would seem. Tri-City, Fuenmayor and Connor Wilford are the two guys I noticed that didn't pop up on any signings yet for Tri-City. Wilford by the way, 91 innings last year in 14 starts, a 3.25 ERA. So he's one that you would like to see come back if you are a Valley Cats fan. And Sebastian Rodriguez with Washington last year. He made 10 starts, 4 relief appearances. He had a 2.57 ERA, 46 strikeouts over that time. So he had a 3.94 FIP. So not, there's some signs that maybe he overperformed, but still, you would probably look for him to come back for Washington. On the offensive side, just run through them real quick. There's fewer. Back with Traviera, you got Brandon Hilton. He hit 354, 419, 518 last year, and I still don't see him rostered anywhere. So keep an eye on if they can bring him back in if he is available to them. Keenan Taylor with Evansville. He's one. He hit nearly 300 last year, just a point shy. He had 15 homers though. Played 93 games for them. You figure they would like to bring him back if he remains available. Pavin Parks, who ended up with Washington after sort of doing the Frontier League tour last year. He's one. He hit 275, 390, 454. But seems to be a good, consistent part of a Frontier League roster at this point. So I'd be interested to see if Washington brings him in or who ends up with his rights, if anybody. David Mendham, who ended up with Quebec last year after starting the year. By the way, these three guys, Taylor, Parks, and Mendham, all ended up on Evansville at one point, so it's kind of funny to see them floating around. But Mendham, he only played 60 games last year, but he hit really well, /317, 436, 413 in his time, so he really cashed in. And it'll be interesting to see where he lands. And finally, Dale Thomas with Gateway. Didn't see him rostered anywhere, so we'll see if they can bring him back in or where he lands as well. He hit 16 home runs last year with Gateway. And a 283, 379, 487 split, if my eyes are not lying to me, which they could be, because No Contacts, No Glasses was a bold choice while recording a video. So that's what I got, kind of bouncing all over the place, looking to do these a little more frequently, but Christmas coming up, been a busy couple of weeks. We'll see how my best intentions and best worst laid plans go for me moving forward. Thanks for checking in for coffee. Getting a little cold in the Reptar mug, gonna be honest, so gonna have to reheat that. Not my best work. Never is, though, huh?